guys, this has been an awesome weekend, man. I can't tell y'all how much fun I've been having with y'all. I have met so many cool people, so many attractive people. This is the second high school youth conference on campus here, and I gotta tell y'all, y'all are twice as good looking as the first group, all right? So, all right. So, with that being said, I want you to consider something, all right? We're all on this retreat together, myself included, other speakers included, the musicians included, my frozen bicycle included. And I want you to consider the fact, the possibility that maybe God has some kind of mysterious plan for your life, and there's a reason you're here this weekend, and this night could be the beginning of something amazing. God can surprise you in ways that you have never imagined. Whether you've been at this thing before, whether you've never been here before, whether even up till now, maybe you haven't even liked it, all right? None of that matters. What matters is right now, God's got you here, and I promise you He has something in store for you tonight. When I first gave my life to God, I want to take you back to that night, because there's a possibility this night be that night for one of you guys, all right? But I grew up just outside of Philly, and and maybe a lot like y'all, maybe nothing like y'all, but I grew up in a family where, like, we went to church every Sunday, you know, that whole thing, but I mean, we weren't, like, super, like, I wasn't as a kid, like, super into my faith. My mom was. I thought that was weird, you know. She was in charge of religious education at my church. That was super embarrassing. And I remember, like, I don't know if your house is like this, but we were one of those houses that, like, one picture of Jesus was never enough, like, in a room, you know, like one crucifix, you think that would be sufficient, but no, you know, like, there's statues of Mary and saints and pictures of Jesus and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was like, I mean, I was used to it, but I knew when my friends came over, they think it was weird, especially my friends who weren't Catholic. And they'd come over to my house and be like, what are all these pictures and stuff? I'd be like, oh, they're relatives, you know, like they're just this, like, big into our relatives. Like, why is one guy's heart on fire? Be like, oh, you know, my uncle had heartburn, you know, it's just like a thing. It's just a thing. But for me, that's what my faith was. It was weird. It was embarrassing. I swept it under the rug. And I thought at some point in my life, I'll get it. At some point in my life, I'll realize why our faith is so cool or whatever. But for now, it seemed really boring and irrelevant to me. And I thought, when I have a family and a house and a little white picket fence, I'll get it. But for now, you know. And one day, my mom came up to me. I was going into high school, and she said, Regis B. And I said, yeah, Mom. And she said, I want you to go on this youth conference. It wasn't a Steubenville conference. It was kind of like it. And I was like, yeah, well, I don't want to go, you know. And I was going into high school, and I felt like, you know, I felt hard, you know. Like, I had 3 chest hairs, and I was feeling like on top of the world. And I was standing up to my mom. I'm like, I'm not going. And she's like, all right, well, you know, you could bring a friend, and you also can miss a day of school. And so, like, as she was saying it, the deal was getting sweeter, and I was like, all right, I'll bring a friend. And also it was at the beach, and I thought, like, look, if nothing else, if this retreat is lame, which it will be, I can, like, where the beach is, there's ladies, and I'll turn on my little 9th grade charm and put the skis on the honeys. And so I thought, you know, worst come to worst, it'll be a profitable venture for everyone involved. And so I went with my buddy Brian. We went on this retreat. There was only, I don't know, maybe 400 kids. It was smaller than this, but felt big. We were sitting in this room like this, and Friday night came and went. I thought it was weird. Made fun of everyone on the stage, maybe like you're doing right now of me. But Saturday came rolling around, and this guy was up on the stage. And the whole time, me and Brian are in the back holding up the wall. We got our hoodies over our heads, you know, acting hard. And And this guy starts talking, and I wasn't listening to him, but I don't know if you've ever experienced this where, like, the whole crowd was, like, reacting to him, but I wasn't paying attention. They were like, then I kind of felt like, I was like, what did he say? Then, like, I was just trying to, like, listen up all of a sudden. And, like, what he was talking about, this guy was fired up, and he was talking about, like, we can actually know a God who loves us just how we are, who's not trying to turn you into, like, a weird version, a boring version of yourself. You don't have to be anything or prove anything to God. He just loves you. And I didn't stand up and say, oh, good. I just stayed looking hard. And, it wasn't even that I never heard that before. Like, it would be shocking to me if I, like, asked, like, hey, has anyone in here, like, never heard that Jesus loves you? You'd be like, yeah, I heard it, dude. There wasn't, like, a surprise. Like, my grandma always wanted to put these little pins on my backpack that said, smile, Jesus loves you, But, like, that's all that message meant to me. It was like this plastic, cheesy little, like, oh, yeah, I get it. Jesus loves me. That's his job, But at the end of the talk, this guy walks up to me. I'm in the back. We're just all leaving for lunch. And he's like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I was like, yeah. And I was trying to think, like, what I did during his talk or something. And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, when I was talking, he was like, God was telling me that he wanted to say something to you. And I was like, me? And he's like, yeah, he has a message for you. And I was like, all right, well, what is it, Mr. Miyagi? And he was like, God wants you to know that if you want to know him like I know him, all you got to do is ask. I was like, okay, is that it? Yeah, he's like, that's it. So I like left. I went and ate lunch. I didn't go tell my friends about it or nothing like that. But at the end of the night, when everyone went back to the hotel, I walked out to the beach. And this was a game-changing moment for me. I was out on the beach by myself, and I was looking up to the sky, because that's what you see in, like, movies, when they're, like, talking to God. And it felt dramatic, and the wind was blowing my shirt open. My 3 little chest hairs were blowing in the wind, and I was like, God, if you really exist, I don't know why you would want me as, like, part of your thing, like, I am the guy who every, CCD class just does, like, the fart noises all class. I don't know the 10 Commandments. I don't even know if you're real, but if you are, prove it. And that was it. That was my only prayer, okay? It wasn't poetic. It wasn't flowery. It wasn't like, oh, that is so beautiful. Let's put that on like a little prayer card or T-shirt. It was stupid. But here's the deal. The reason it was a game-changing moment for me, because it was the first time in my life that I had said something real to God. Like I had said it in a real way. And much to my surprise, God began to answer that prayer. He began to show me that he was real, that he loved me. Like things started coming alive. Like at Mass, I would listen. I never listened before, just went in, did a little knee bend, put the water on my face, but I was trying to listen. There was like, everything was coming alive in my life, and I was starting for the first time to really believe that God might love me. But here's where the roadblock was. And my guess, though I don't know any of your stories or many of your stories, my guess is that this roadblock may be the same for you. When I was on that retreat, it felt great. I felt really close to God. But as the weeks and months went by, I felt like God was, off yonder. My family at home was falling apart. My parents, which seemed so perfect, and my mom, led religious ed and everything, just things started falling apart in a real bad way. And my parents would fight all the time. And that kind of led to, me and my brothers, we fought all the time. It was just everyone fought all the time. And I could kind of encapsulate that whole part of my life with this one, image from Sunday morning that felt like every Sunday. It was this. my mom would come in, wake us up late, just a few minutes before we had to be at Mass, and, she'd kick open the door, Rachel, speak it up, and I'd wake up and, rubbing the sleep out of my eyes. We'd all be running, to the bathroom. Me and my brothers would be kicking each other in the crotch, just fighting. Shut up, man, I hate you, like we're all like fighting. And then my mom and dad are down the other end of the hallway echoing, I hate you, shut up, it just kind of just felt like this big, horrible like chorus of hate and anger, and all that somehow continued out into the van. We would drive to Mass, and the whole time we're like, shut up, fighting, kicking each other. And then we'd pull up and we'd park in the same spot every week. And my mom would put the car in park, and she'd say, can we just act like we love each other for 1 hour? And we'd all be like, and then we'd get out of the van, and she'd be like licking our hair down, and tucking in our shirts. And, then we'd all kind of go skipping into Mass. And, someone would say to my mom, like, oh, Mary Lou, how you doing? And she'd be like, oh, blessed, And then we'd go, slide into the pew, me and my brothers, and just sticking things in each other's ear the whole Mass. But our shirts were tucked in, our hair was licked down. And when Mass was over, we would just run out to the lobby, get the free donut, and then run back to the car where we'd continue to kick each other in the crotch and tell each other how much we hate each other. And this is what it felt like to me. This is what it felt like. God was up here in the clouds and sporting a stylish beard, and he was looking down, in his majestic binoculars, and he saw our church, and he said, all their shirts are tucked in. They have their hymnals open. They're not singing, but they have them open, and yes, their hair's licked down. Oh, I'm so proud of this church. And then puts his binoculars away till next Sunday, and meanwhile, it's like, dude, I'm dying. Where are you, God? Like, I hate my life. I don't want to just serve a God who I just have to show up and, tuck in my shirt and lick my hair down and pretend like I care for an hour, when where are you when I am dying? And that was a roadblock for me. I am here tonight to tell you that is not the kind of God we have. If you look, I think, on just about any page of the Gospels, the stories about Jesus, you will see the opposite. The story I want to kind of bring this home with is a story that I love. It's about Bartimaeus. Okay, now Bartimaeus was blind. All right, but beyond being blind, he was weird. All right, and what I mean by that is, I don't know about your town. You don't got to shout it out or anything, but every town has got like a weirdo. Ours is JP right here, and but every town has got one. And I'm just kidding. There is a guy in town here that I love. I love this guy, but he's a little out there. And his name's Tracy, and he spends most days trying to sell you like these old Whitney Houston cassette tapes. And, like, I'm always like, hey, man, sorry, I don't got any money today. And he'll just come back 5 minutes later and ask me the same thing. And then he always asks me, too, like, if he must be, like, paranoid or something, but he's always asking me, like, if I ran up to the president, but they would shoot me, right? They would shoot me? And I'd be like, I don't know, Tracy. Like, I wouldn't run up to the president. He'd be like, okay. But one day, I was working in this building. I work with inner city kids. That's, like, one of my main passions. And I was working in our building, and he came into the building, and he had what he said was a gun, though I could see his fingernail through his T-shirt. He was like, hey, Bob, give me all the juice in the refrigerator. And I was like literally the juice, like, okay. I was like, just don't shoot, I'll get it, And I gave him there were 3 little, huggies of juice, and he took them and ran out. And but that's our town's Bartimaeus. You know what I'm saying? He's got issues. People are like, oh, Tracy. But Bartimaeus, Jesus was walking through your town. He was walking through their town one day, and it says as he's walking, crazy Bartimaeus starts screaming out, Jesus! Now, I picture Jesus walking with, important people, dignitaries, people like Bob Rice, and they're walking, and, and And Bob's saying, like, and over here, Jesus, we have, our newly renovated courthouse and, whatever. And then over in the corner, you hear Bartimaeus like, Jesus! And, so they're getting mad. They run over to Bartimaeus and they're like, shut up. Okay, and this doesn't say shut up, but it says they rebuke him, tell him to be quiet. Like, Jesus, this is a big deal. Like, people, whatever you thought of Jesus, he was famous. And all of our obsession with fame, it was the same. It's always been like that for humans. Because we're longing for something greater than ourselves. And here comes a famous guy, and everyone's crowding in, and, here's the embarrassment, the town embarrassment. And they're like, be quiet. Jesus is here, man. You want him to zap you? And instead he just screams even louder, Jesus! And Jesus stops, and I'm sure that all the important guys that are walking with him were like, dude, you're about to get him, right, Jesus? Like, you're about to, like, lay it down on this dude. And so he walks over slowly, and I'm sure all eyes were on Jesus, like, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? And Jesus just crouches down, and he says to him, what do you want me to do for you? What can I do for you? And Bartimaeus, who's blind, it's like a little obvious, his eyes are caked over, he's holding out a begging jar, says, I want to see. And Jesus just, and he sees, and that's it. And Jesus walks away. Like, that is such a cool story, and it throws a wrench in the idea that God is up there and doesn't really care about the mess of our lives. We're going to pray here for a second. I want you to consider something. What would it take tonight for you to meet eyes with Jesus? Like, I always have this weird thought that, like, if Jesus came to my town, I would surely be in the crowd somewhere. He wouldn't see me. Like, I would be lost or something, and he would walk through, and maybe I'd see, like, the back of his sandals or something. But this story, I love that he's with the important people, but he goes and he finds the weirdo. And he's like, what can I do for you? And the reason that he finds him is because Bartimaeus has the courage. He don't care what his friends think anymore. He realizes, dude, this might be my one shot. This might be my night. And I'm not going to let it pass. I don't care about my friends. I don't care what anyone thinks. And he starts screaming out Jesus' name. And it pays off because Jesus bends down and says, what can I do for you? I mean, imagine God asking you that question. What can I do for you? I'd be like, oh, let me pull on my list. Like, there are a lot of, but what a question, That is what is happening here tonight. God is going to walk through this room in just a way as he did in that story with Bartimaeus. Jesus is going to walk through this room, and if you have the courage to not let him pass without crying out in your heart, Jesus, this is my night, I need you. God could do something miraculous in you. Can we get his guitar on? Here's what I want you to do. We're going to just focus in on our heart for a second, all right? Our hearts, the world doesn't want you to think about your heart. Once you think about your face, once you think about your Facebook, and once you think about your statuses and, like, just anything but your heart. Think about the external, because that sells stuff. Here, we have this, cover up this, and buy these clothes and this shoes and this phone and all this stuff. But don't worry about the inside, because that's not what's important. What's important is the outside. And Jesus flips all that on its head, and he's like, the only thing that matters is in here. I was at Adoration about 10 years ago in Tennessee, and I was doing a concert, and at the end of the concert, they asked, could you lead some music for Adoration? And I said, sure. And so I was up on this stage leading some music for Adoration, and the monstrance, Jesus was out in the middle. There was like an altar in the middle, and I said, let's kneel down. Jesus is coming into the room, and everyone knelt down. And then I saw there was like a commotion, like I thought people were like fooling around, or like the kids were like messing with each other. And then I saw like looked like this kid was like doing the worm. I was so mad, dude. I mean, I was like up here trying to like pray, trying to lead them to Jesus. So I just took off my guitar and got off the stage, and I was ready to pound someone. And and I walked up, and what I saw, it was shocking. Like brought me to tears. It was this girl who I had seen throughout the day, but she was in like a wheelchair. I'm not sure how much of her was paralyzed, but it was more than just her legs. And she had thrown herself out of her wheelchair, and she was just kind of wiggling towards Jesus. Like that to me, that's Bartimaeus. He's saying, I don't care what anyone thinks right now. I just want to be close to him. I want to be close to my Savior, because he has the power to change my life. And that was humbling for me. Close your eyes where you're at real quick. What I want you to do is just put your hand over your heart. That's where we're going tonight. See, Bartimaeus, see that girl in that story, their problem was very public. Everyone could see Bartimaeus' crusty eyes. He was blind. Everyone could see that this girl was paralyzed. But most people in here can't see what your issue is. See, our issues are in our heart. And that's what we need to connect with right now, so that we can cry out in our heart, at least, to Jesus. Jesus, have mercy on me, just like Bartimaeus did as he's passing through tonight, knowing that he can change us. So what is your issue? What's the wounded part of your heart that you want to bring to Jesus tonight? Are you sad? Are you lonely? Is there a part of you that is angry and you don't even know why? Do you have some kind of addiction? All these things are things we mainly never talk to anyone about. We cry when we're alone about it. Do you feel bad about yourself? Will you do anything to feel loved by someone else? Where's your heart at? Let's connect with that heart right now, knowing that if we can be honest, this might be our night, just like it was Bartimaeus'.